Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live, Season 4, Episode 23, Ham Radio News and Update 6/10/2026. Hope everyone is doing well today. Let's see who we got in here. Cooley's here. Welcome, Cooley. Andy, welcome. Waypoint New England, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. And Sergeant Rock, awesome. Thank you for stopping by this afternoon. That's a great turnout. Summer's in full swing here in Florida, and we're probably about a week or so out, maybe 2 weeks out from Parks on the Air. We're about from Field Day 2026. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun. It's a great way. It's a great way to get to know clubs. And I think if you're looking for a new club or you're looking to try out a club and see how they are, best time to go is on Field Day. I mean, they usually have family, friends, probably a picnic. I would definitely recommend checking that out for sure. That's really something I would highly encourage you guys to do. So today we're going to talk about probably one of the most popular, I don't want to call it options, but one of the most popular things in ham radio is POTA. Okay. You seem to know everybody, and anybody and everybody does POTA, and you see a lot of couples doing it. I know I had them on the show probably a couple of years ago. They're here in Florida. They do POTA together. There's another one I just found out on Facebook. They have a whole channel dedicated to doing POTA together, which is very interesting. I love it. It's fantastic. It's great. So, but today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the top 10 reasons every ham should try POTA. If you haven't, it's something you should try. Now that's, and present company included, because I have not tried POTA yet. Okay. That's where I'm at. And if you guys know, I have a busy, bell to bell schedule with work every day. And if I can get on the air on the weekends, I'm doing good. And POTA is another thing. Now, the other thing too with POTA is, and this is something you need to realize, is you need to be near a state park or a registered park to be able to do something like that. I unfortunately don't have one close to me. So, well, we're going to go ahead, and I have the top 10 reasons. We're going to go over that here, and I hope it kind of gives you some, kind of opens things up, open your eyes up about POTA. And I know all you guys probably in the chat here, Cooley, Sergeant Rock, Andy, Waypoint New England, you guys are probably all familiar, and you guys have probably all done it too. But this is gonna kind of be like I don't want to call it a primer, but something to kind of get your feet wet about it and kind of get you excited and get the juices flowing and wanting to check things out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dive into the presentation here. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, top 10 reasons every ham should try POTA. Parks on the Air has become one of the amateur radio's most popular activities. Here are 10 great reasons every ham should give it a try. Number 10, you get on the air more often. One of the biggest challenges in amateur radio is simply finding a reason to get on the air. Many operators spend hours researching equipment, watching videos, or planning future projects, but never actually make contacts. Well, POTA gives you a purpose. Pick a nearby park, pack your gear, and head out for an activation. The program encourages regular operating and keeping radio fun and active. And the thought on this, radios are meant to be used, not just admired. And I know, unfortunately, of several hams who, they never really kind of venture out to do POTA. They never really venture out of their home. They operate out of their home. And, if they're mobile, they're probably just take an HT with them wherever they're going, and they haven't done anything like that. And, it really helps give you a sense of, it makes you feel good when you go out there and do that. And it will get you on the air more often. I know a lot of people that have started POTA and they realize, hey, I'm getting on the air every weekend. I'm getting on the air like at least a couple times a week because of POTA and doing activation. So it really does help you get on and get in. And just by nature, getting on, you'll get more experience. You'll get more comfortable, especially for new hams. Now, number 9 here, it gives your equipment a real world test. And everything works great in the shack, of course. The real test comes when you're operating from a picnic table, under a canopy, or from the back of your vehicle. POTA teaches you how well batteries, antennas, and logging methods perform in the field. Many operators improve their portable setups dramatically after only a few activations. And this is so true. And there's a lot to be said in all of this here. You find out, well, if you're operating QRP, I mean, you can do POTA QRP if you want, but most people probably will be doing 100 watts when they're doing this. But it gives you a chance to fine tune things like the battery that you want out there, for how long. How long do you plan on doing your POTA session? You're going to be out there 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. You're going to want to have a battery that's going to have that kind of capacity to be able to handle that. What kind of antennas do you want to use? More often than not, and what I see a lot of hams do out in the field is they have some type of portable vertical setup that you put out on a tripod and you run your coax to it, because it's easy to set up, it's easy to tear down. It doesn't involve a lot of work being able to do that. Now, quite a few others use end-fed half waves up there, and of course, that's great if you're in an environment where there's a lot of trees, and being able to get your antenna up in the tree to get you some good propagation there. So, but it really kind of fine tunes your skills. I mean, you're at home, you're good to go all the time. There's really no issue. You have power. You're set, but it really kind of puts a lot of things to the test when you do POTA out in the field, and also logging too. I mean, you have some good software as far as that's concerned. So that makes a big difference. So yeah, number 10 gives your equipment a real world test. It really does. Number 8, you can participate with almost any radio, and this is so true. And I think this is a great misnomer here. Yeah, James. Yeah, it's a long game. You got that right. That's for sure. No, welcome. Thanks for stopping by, James. Appreciate that. Yeah, I did my first POTA, was dude tested. Okay, all right. Awesome, Cooley. That's fantastic. Many activators, there's a great misnomer here with POTA. In a lot of people think that you have to have your HF rig to go out there and do POTA, and that's not necessarily the case. You can do it on VHF, UHF, through your handheld, mobile rigs, older HF rigs, portable QRP radios, and simple wire antennas. The important thing is getting on the air and making contacts. Thought your current radio is probably capable of your first activation, and it probably is. I mean, unless you have a small Baofeng that's not a real powerful HT, you want to look at something, and this is something, for me, when I go out to do my POTA activations, more than likely I'm going to do it from my 705, and I'm going to try to pick some parts locally in this. And when I mean locally, probably in the state of Florida, because I'm going to be pushing 5-10 watts, and it's not going to be real powerful when I do something like that. So you take that into consideration as well when you're going out there and doing this for your first time. And I know a lot of people have a second 7300 that they take out, hook it up to a battery, and you're pushing 100 watts out there, which is fantastic. And you'll make some contacts that way. It's tough sledding using doing a QRP and doing POTA, but it can be done. And I actually heard, when I was on a few weeks ago, I actually heard some stations on there, some on the 705. I actually heard people in some conversations on the band that I was on. So it can be done. It's just you have to know what your limitations are as far as QRP is concerned. But again, it really is very versatile with the type of radio that you can use. All right. It helps improve your operating skills. POTA is one of the fastest ways to become a more confident operator. You'll learn frequency selection, propagation awareness, logging accuracy, portable station setup, and troubleshooting in the field. These skills benefit every aspect of amateur radio. Thought every activation makes you a better operator. All this is very true. One of the big things I think it really helps with, and I know for a fact, is propagation, because one of the things that you'll do before you go out to do your POTA is you'll check what propagation is like and on what bands. That's so important before you go out. You know, if you find out 40 meters is just deader than a doornail today, you go out, you know, you get reports. You go out and you look at the reports. If you, of course, if you have hand clock, you get that information updated to you pretty much automatically. I know they've done a lot of fine tuning of that, but you know, that's why you go to QRZ, get some of that information out there, see which bands are good for the day, and plan accordingly with something like that. And it also helps you too with your frequency. I mean, you know, we have waterfalls, which net. Okay, we're gonna go back here because Cooley found that I didn't have any audio here, so we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start this over here, which I am very sorry about that. Okay, your top 10 reasons every ham should try POTA, and Parks on the Air has become one of amateur radio's most popular activities. Here are 10 great reasons every ham should give it a try. Now, number 10, you can get on the air more often. One of the biggest challenges in amateur radio is simply finding a reason to get on the air. And many operators spend hours researching equipment, watching videos, or planning future projects, but never actually making contact. Well, POTA gives you a purpose. You pick a nearby park, you pack your gear, and you head out for an activation. The program encourages regular operating and helps keep radio fun and active. Thought radios are meant to be used, not just admired. And this is all very true. And one of the things with this, because I know a lot of ham radio operators that love operating out of their home in their shack, which there's no problem with that at all. But this gets you out of doors, and I think it's really good. It keeps you regular, it keeps you active, it keeps you involved, and it's I think it's a great way to really get to know how to do ham radio, especially for new hams. This is absolutely fantastic for new hams. So, and you know, it gets you outside, which is it's always nice to get outside to be able to share that a nice day out there and have some fun. Now, number 9, it gives your equipment a real world test. And of course, you know, when you're at home, everything works fine in the shack. The real test comes when you're operating from a picnic table, under a canopy, or from the back of your vehicle. POTA teaches you how well batteries, antennas, and logging methods perform in the field. Many operators improve their portable setups dramatically after only a few activations. Thought the field is the ultimate equipment testing laboratory, and it really is. That's very true. You know, when you get out there, you have to plan accordingly. You know, if you're going to be out there, say 3 or 4 hours, you want to bring a battery that's going to be able to handle that capabilities. you want to plan accordingly as far as your antenna is concerned. If you're going to an area that doesn't have any trees, an end-fed half-wave is probably not going to do well for you. And you probably want to get some type of portable vertical setup on a tripod, which I know many guys do that. Many ham operators do that, which really helps there. And also too, whether or not you bring some radials with you, because and also an SWR meter, because you want to make sure that you have a low SWR, or try to get it as low as possible. So really helps you put a lot of things into practice, because when you're set up and operating out of your home and out of your home shack, everything's good to go. Your SWR is probably all set, especially if you have an HF rig and a permanent antenna set up. So you really don't need to check that every single time. A lot of people do, but still, this really kind of gets you in practice for that. So it really gives your equipment a real world test here. Now, common misconception is POTA requires expensive portable gear. Many activators successfully use basic handhelds on VHF, UHF, mobile radios, older HF rigs, portable QRP radios, and simple wire solutions. The important thing is getting on the air and making contacts. Thought your current radio is probably capable of your first activation, and it's so true. I know a lot of ham radio operators use Yaesu FT891 because it's kind of the best of both worlds. It gets you out on the air. You can get out to 100 watts. It's portable. It's easy to use, easy to set up. A lot of people do that, and will still do that. And you have to navigate through the menu system on the 891, which can be a challenge. But if you do that, you're set up and you're good to go. But of course, you can still do it like I said, portable and basic handhelds on VHF, UHF, mobile radios, older HF rigs. I know a lot of people have a second 7300 that they bought used, and they take that out and they do POTA activations with that. And of course, portable QRP radios like my ICOM IC705, and then simple wire antennas. But again, like I said before, you can have a simple end-fed half-wave setup, but you got to be in a park that's going to have a lot of trees and be able to get your antenna up there to be able to get some good signals. So, but yeah, it really gives you it really is very versatile with the type of radio that you can choose there. Now, it helps improve your operating skills. POTA is one of the fastest ways to becoming a more confident operator. And with that, you'll have frequency selection, propagation awareness, logging accuracy, portable station setup, and troubleshooting in the field. These skills benefit every aspect of amateur radio, and it's very true. You really have to learn, for example, whenever you're going out for the day to do something like this, you're going to want to check the propagation either on QRZ or through ham clock, or getting online and seeing what the bands are like for that day, whether or not you're going to get on 40 meters, 10 meters, whatever band you choose. You want to be aware of, and the time of day too, your propagation. In a lot of instances, it's better towards the evening than it is in the morning. Some bands, there's a couple bands that do well during the day, and it's really kind of good to know these differences. And it's real good for new hams. It really keeps them aware of what propagation is like, where they're at, and what it is for the day. Also, to be able to log things accurately, because I know a lot of people still like to get the cards, and in order to do that, you got to log your contacts accurately. And I think it's a benefit to you, and it's a benefit to the person that's made the contact. So, and also a portable station setup. Whether or not, if you're in an area that has a lot of trees, it's easy to do an end-fed half-wave. If not, you want to do a vertical setup that's going to have a nice tripod. I know a lot of hams that do that. And then also troubleshooting in the field. You probably want to bring your SWR meter with you as well too, to make sure that your antennas have, or as close to 1-to-1 as possible. And that'll make a big difference for you. Now, it's great for new hams, and really can't emphasize this enough. Many newly licensed operators aren't sure what to do after passing their exam. POTA provides a simple and welcoming introduction to operating. The exchange is easy, the community is supportive, and hunters are often eager to help new activators succeed. Many operators credit POTA with helping them gain confidence on the air, and the thought is POTA turns nervous beginners into active operators. And it's so true. And one of the things I can say, if you're new to ham radio, if you've just gotten your license, say your technician license, and you're really interested in doing something like POTA, or your general or your amateur extra, and you still really haven't had a whole lot of experience, get to your local club and find someone who they will be more than happy to have take them under your wing. You go out with them, you watch what they do, and then they'll probably give you a couple of practice runs as well. And then maybe the next weekend, or when the opportunity presents itself, you can get out there and do POTA yourself. So, it's really, this is an excellent opportunity for learning from an Elmer, from a mentor. I call them mentors sometimes as well too. So that's just me, but it's really a great way to be able to do something like that. So thank you, Cooley. I appreciate that. It's really good. It really kind of helps you get acclimated to things, and it's really good for that Elmer helping you as well and pass on some knowledge and some tips that really you might not find in a book, or you might not find on a video, but they can pass something on to you that will be a benefit and will help you. For example, the area that you live in, more often than not, they can say propagation in the morning. You want to hit these bands. And they'll say, I know what it says out on ham radio clock or on QRZ, but these are the bands that you should try in the morning. And then late afternoon, evening, these are the bands that you should try. Something along those lines. They'll be there to give that kind of wonderful advice. Now, you discover new parks and new locations. One unexpected benefit of POTA is the opportunity to explore places you may have never visited otherwise. Many operators discover local, county, state, and national parks located only a few minutes from home. Others use POTA as an excuse to explore new areas while traveling. And, whatever reason you're going out, I mean, it's always good to get out of doors. It's always good to be a part of nature. And this is a great way to be able to do that. You'll be able to see different sites across the country. I know a lot of guys out there with their channels and gals will go out, they'll be on business in a different city, and they'll bring their rig with them, a portable rig, and get set up and be able to maybe go to a couple of parks out there and be able to do some activations. And that's really cool because it gets you out, it gets you into different areas, and you get to see some wonderful parts of our country that way. Now, you become a part of a friendly community, and the POTA community is known for being welcoming, encouraging, and helpful. Whether activating or hunting, you'll encounter operators who genuinely want you to succeed. Many activators develop friendships and arrange group outings and events, and it usually, more often than not, tied in with clubs, but sometimes, on your own. And that's always good too, because, you may come across and meet someone who lives in your local area. They may not be a part of a club, but, or there may be several of you who aren't a part of a club. You can do things like that. And, people are there. One thing that I have found out, the ham radio community in general is very helpful, especially if you're new. They're gonna definitely make sure to help you out. If you ask questions, as they said, the only bad question that you ask is not to ask a question. And they encourage that. They want you to do that. They want you to be able to grow and to learn and to understand. And it really helps you become a great part of the community. Now, every activation feels like an accomplishment. And of course it does. Successfully activating a park requires choosing a location, setting up your station, operating effectively, logging contacts accurately, and meeting activation requirements. When everything comes together, there's a real sense of accomplishment. And there's something to be said for that. When you get out there, that, James, Nano NBA, that is absolutely something you should probably bring with you as well. I agree. When everything comes together, there's a real sense of accomplishment. Thought every park activation creates a story worth telling, and it is. There's a different thing with each and every park that you activate. And they say it's good to go to areas that are familiar, but if you have a lot of parks in your area, you should go to different ones each time to be able to do this. You'll find out how your propagation is there, for example, whether or not 40 meters is better than 10 meters at that time of day, or along those lines. And also too, logging your contacts. I think that's important to that person that's on the air with you, making that contact. And, they may be, in a contest, they may be trying to get their 50 states, or trying to, you know, do some other things as far as contests are concerned. So and they may be the ones that really like to get the cards in the mail as far as that's concerned. And it really helps you. It also helps you be able to set your station up properly outside your home. And I think that's important, and that's vital to be able to do that, because, you know, you never know when an emergency hits, and you might have to do that on your own. And it really helps when you do that and practice that week in and week out. So it really helps you, makes you feel good, and kind of confirms, you know, you really picked a great hobby, which of course you guys did. So, and I know all you guys in the chat have done that as well too. So, all right. Awards and recognition keep things interesting, and I kind of touched on this a little earlier here. POTA offers a wide variety of awards for activators and hunters. Recognition can be earned for number of contacts, parks activated, parks hunted, unique parks, and long-term achievements. The award adds fun and motivation without pressure. Thought the awards are a bonus. The operating is the real reward, and it's very true. Now, you know, you've heard, for those of you who are new, and I know you guys in the chat know, when I mention the word pileups, okay, everybody's trying to get into one park, and it's just like, yeah. And that's where if you have like a 7300 or other powerful rig that has good filtering on it, you'll probably be able to punch through, versus, you know, if you're doing something QRP, you know, that poor QRP person, which is probably me, on my 705, will never be able to get through something like that. So that's why you try to, you know, and also too, when you're hunting for a park, and you know, you take a look and see that the parks that are active and out there for the day, and there's different software, and I'm going to do another video on, you know, on getting started with POTA as well too. But one of the things, you know, when you're doing this, and you find out, and you get a hold of a park, and it's great, but you find out, you know, there's like, well, there's a pile up there, and, you know, if you're operating QRP, you need to move on, because you're not going to get through. That's pretty much cut and dry. But it, you know, having said all that, you know, when you're making these contacts, it gives you a sense of accomplishment, and it really keeps you interested in what you're doing. And just some, you know, I did all 50 states. I have, I've had X number of contacts. I've activated X number of parks, and I've hunted X number of parks. And, you know, I've hunted some unusual type of parks, and also some long-term achievements, whether you're doing for 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. You know, these awards, they mean a lot to people, because they've been diligent and dedicated to be able to do something like this. So, and number one here is, it's simply fun. POTA combines everything many people enjoy about amateur radio: portable operating, making contacts, testing equipment, exploring new places, meeting fellow operators, and improving skills. The variety keeps the activity fresh and exciting year after year. Thought POTA reminds us why we become amateur radio operators in the first place. And you can see in the slide here, you know, this ham has several books on POTA, and there's an operating manual on that. There's some other ones. I encourage you to go out there and purchase some of these if you're going to get into POTA. And there's a lot of great online guides as well too. And there's a lot of videos out there. But one of the things I would highly recommend that you get some of these guides, because they'll walk you through a lot of things, and they'll be clear, and they won't muddy the waters up for you. So that's something that I strongly suggest. ARRL has that available. You could probably find some of those out on Amazon as well too. That's just your weekly tip here. In conclusion, POTA's grown into one of the most popular activities in amateur radio because it appeals to nearly everyone. It gets us outside, gets us on the air, and reminds us that amateur radio is meant to be enjoyed. And the question here, what was your first POTA activation, or what's keeping you from trying one? And, you know, there's the only thing that's keeping me from trying one. It's called that thing called 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's what was keeping me right now. But when I get retired, that's going to be primary on my list. We're going to be doing a lot of that and having a lot of fun as far as that's concerned. But no, seriously, you know, if you guys are in the chat, or also afterwards when this goes out to video, what was your first POTA contact? Do you guys remember that? Drop drop that down there. I'd really be interested in finding that out. And I think a lot of us would too, because it really is a reminder and really getting back to the basics and getting things to where POTA, you can make POTA really, you can make it harder than it needs to be, or you can make it very simple. And the whole premise of the channel that I started it, I wanted to keep things simple as far as ham radio is concerned. And that's why I did the presentation like I did, because really POTA is not that hard. It really isn't. You set your equipment up, you get your logging software, you get logged in. So you're out there and you're showing active, and you log your contacts, you read them in, you go through that. And one of the things I would recommend for you to do is to go out there on some of these YouTube videos and listen to how, especially if you're new, on how the cadence goes and how, when you're calling CQ, and it gives you an idea of what to say, when to say it, the QR codes that you should use, especially for new. Obviously, this is for new operators out there. It really kind of helps you out on that here. Yeah, it is, Richard. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. POTA and lots just taking big activations in our area. I love it. It's better than field day. And it really, in essence, it really is. And you get out there, it gets you out of the house, it gets you active, it gets you involved. And Indiana Dunes State Park. There you go, Cooley. All right, fantastic. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm gonna be diving into that as soon as I hang up I turn in my ID badge and my laptop to my manager when I retire. I'm gonna have time for that, and that's one of the things that I really want to do. And I want to, and all the goals that people do, I want to do those. I just want to do that because it's just fun when you're out there making contacts. You love it. It's enjoyable. It's always fun to make a contact, whether you're making contact across town or across the country or across the world. It's part of the greatest hobby, and we're all part of this great hobby. And I want to thank all you guys for stopping by this afternoon. I really appreciate that. Also, apologies. I normally get this out on social media that I'm having the show today, but I had back-to-back meetings today. I was socked in like you wouldn't believe. I was just able to get this out on X, out on Twitter right now, but that's why you didn't see it earlier. But I want to thank you guys, especially the regulars who are here. Cooley that's here, Sergeant Rock, Andy. Let's see who else here. White Point, New England. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you're taking time out of your Wednesday afternoon to watch us here on Ham Radio Basics Live. And you've probably seen we've been doing some things on the channel. We've updated the logo as far as that's concerned. I'm probably going to get a new t-shirt and a new ball cap with the HRB logo, because a lot of people have said that they really like that. So that's really like a hint. I'm going to try to find somebody that can make it and not have it cost a lot of money, so you guys can be able to get them easily. Because I know a t-shirt I've heard requested, and a hat on that sounds really good. And I really like the mock-up t-shirt that I did for HRB, and that looks really well. So guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, guys, remember, it's a great day to make a QSO. 7 3s, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening and weekend.